The EU Parliament is essentially a facade where the inner workings of government are hidden from the European people it represents, an expert has said. Amid a growing backlash to the bloc's vaccine crisis, the EU moved to cut off the AstraZeneca's supplies leaving the continent for the UK. Article 16 of the Brexit deal was triggered, in effect erecting a hard trade border on the island of Ireland, much to the dismay of British and Irish politicians, who cited an already tense border situation in Irish Sea as a result of Brexit. Ireland's envoy to the EU, Tom Hannay, launched into a furious attack on the bloc, headed by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. She reversed the bloc's decision following a tense call with Prime Minister Boris Johnson last weekend. Despite the serious implications, many EU member states were muted over the crisis, opting to urge solidarity among their European neighbors. Critics argued it was a sign member states have no real say in the EU, with Brussels merely a facade for a select few who spearhead the group. Robert Toombs, the renowned British historian, echoed this concern, describing the situation as proving the bloc had no governance and was therefore unaccountable. He told Express, "The obvious word to describe the EU's setup, I suppose, is bureaucracy. It's a bit like a civil service without a government. It has a parliament but it's essentially a facade, it doesn't sign things or choose who governs Europe. People who defend it say, ah yes, but all the governments are democratic and the governments meet together. But when they meet they cease to be democratic in the sense that they cease to be unaccountable because there's no opposition. There's no way in which thing can be debated and people can make their voice heard because they don't know what's going on." According to the European Commission's website, the national parliaments of member states play a key role in taking decisions and making laws. It states, generally it is the European Commission that proposes new laws and the European Parliament and the Council that adopt them. The advisory bodies, the European Economic and Social Committee and the European Committee of the Regions, as well as the national parliaments are involved in the process by providing their opinions on the proposals, mainly from the perspective of the principles of subsidiarity and proportionality. Subsidiarity means that, except in the areas where it has exclusive powers, the EU only acts where action will be more effective at EU level than at national level. It is true, however, that the European Parliament is set up in a way that makes it impossible for any real opposition party to exist. Elections to the European Parliament happen every 5 years, with citizens of member states able to elect a representative on behalf of their country's region. Once in, those MEPs vote on numerous things. However, Professor Toombs said they have little to no say in the things that go on behind the scenes. Many would disagree with the academic. Chris Davies served in the European Parliament as a member for North West England between 1999 and 2014, and 2019 and 2020. In 2003, he told the BBC that he enjoyed more input and far more influence in Brussels than he did as a Liberal Democrat MP in Westminster. Others, like Yanis Varoufakis, the former finance minister of Greece, say it is impossible for politicians to have any sway over decision-making in the bloc. In a 2015 TED Talk, he claimed that the world's political and economic spheres had blurred, with the latter having colonized the former. This, he said, had resulted in the people who make up institutions like the EU inherently powerless. Mr. Varoufakis explained, one can be in government today and not in power, because power has migrated from the political to the economic sphere, which is separate. Meanwhile, as Britain left what Professor Toombs describes as the facade of the European Parliament over a year ago, pro-Brexit figures like Paul Embury, a trade unionist and Labour member, say the UK can now repatriate powers from the continent. He told Express, "Now, we're free to do those things in the future if we want to, and I think that's the key point."